Welcome all to another episode of your favorite podcast. Today we are going through the games from the 19th of January to the 25th. Targo, what are you drinking?
Today I am drinking the best, worst beer there is. PBR.
Just like college.
Like college. I was hanging out with a buddy, and that's his beer of choice, so had one laying around.
Well, there you go.
Get rid of it.
Today I am drinking good old Kilt Lifter Scotch Ale from Pike's Brewing. It's so good. I love me my Scotch ales.
You do.
Yeah, but those are our brews. Let's get to some banter. Welcome to Brews and Banter. Targo, this is a very up and down week. A lot of action, a lot of good, some bad, but very entertaining nonetheless. Let's kick it off on the 18th. We had Crystal Palace against Manchester United. We both said United would win, but ultimately this one ended in a 1-1 draw.
Yeah, it kind of looked like United were going to win. They got the first goal there in the first half. And then Olise, my young player to watch, I might add, came up big on a beautiful free kick.
Oh, worldy. Contender for goal of the season there.
I don't know about that, but it was a good free kick. I'll give it
Contender. It won't be goal of the season, but it will be in the list.
It was a beauty. So, yeah, Crystal Palace come away with a 1-1 draw there.
Yeah. Bigger result for Palace or more disappointing for Man United?
I think more disappointing for Man United, the way they played that game.
Yeah.
They were leading a majority of that game, and then, Crystal Palace got the gut punch at the end.
Yeah, I mean, United were in cruise control pretty much this whole game, and then Casemiro gets his fifth yellow card of the season, which suspended him for the Arsenal game on the weekend. And then the game kind of just changed from there. United started letting Crystal Palace get comfortable, and then just when you thought United had won it, Palace get a banger.
Yeah, and then even after that, took a great tackle from Aaron Wan-Bissaka on Wilfried Zaha to stop him from going in on goal one-on-one.
Yeah, I mean, he was on a breakaway. Wan-Bissaka caught him, and with the perfect scoop tackle. Yeah, I mean, that result leaves United, or left United, on 39 points and third at the time, and Palace up to 12th on 23 points. On the 19th, we had Manchester City versus Tottenham. We both predicted a draw. This was anything but.
Yeah.
And a story of two completely different halves and two completely different Manchester City teams.
Yeah, I know we had talked about, Tottenham, they need to get out to a quick start. They can't be waiting to the second half to start playing. They came out to a quick start, that's for sure. Going up 2-0 at halftime.
Two defensive mistakes from Manchester City. First one, oh man, Ederson. Terrible ball to Rodri. Turns
I don't know why
immediately
he
gets it taken. Kulusevski slots it home, 1-0. And then, a minute and a half later, Rodri tries to dribble out of the back. Kane with a beautiful sliding tackle. Shoots it at goal, or what you would think was a blasted cross, one of the two.
It was a
Ederson
shot.
parried it, and the unlikely hero of Emerson Royale heads it
landed
home.
on his head.
Yep.
So, 2-0 at halftime. And honestly, I was thinking okay, Tottenham, let's see how this second half goes. You're a second half team. And then they weren't.
No.
They were not a second half
They
team.
spurred it. I don't know if this was a combination of Tottenham being Tottenham and what we would say here in Washington is cooging it, or if this was Tottenham poking the bear and Manchester City finally coming alive, because this second half from the get-go was not even close.
Not at all. You got to, I think for me, the man of the match there for that City team was Riyad Mahrez. He
100%.
really came alive in that second half.
Yes.
Was terrorizing those defenders. And then they end up getting 3 quick goals.
Yeah. Alvarez scores in the 52nd to get him started. Hugo Lloris parries it right to him, volleys it home, and then the inevitable 53rd minute, Erling Haaland.
Off of a
After Riyad Mahrez header back across goal. But I want to talk about that ball from Rodri over the top to Mahrez. Whew, what a beauty.
Yeah, that was a beauty. And then the cushion header to Haaland as well. So he had the easiest job.
Yeah, essentially just staying on sides and then running through the ball. That ended his 333-minute goal drought for Erling Haaland. And then the 64th minute, Riyad Mahrez. I don't know if this is more of a Hugo Lloris just being a bad goalie, or if this is Riyad Mahrez with a shot of brilliance beating Lloris near post with maybe a foot between Lloris and the post.
I think I'd give the credit to Mahrez because that was a rifle of a shot. You know, obviously as a goalkeeper, you never want to get beat at your near post. So maybe a little of both, but I would give most of credit to Mahrez versus a blunder to Lloris.
Yeah, well, whoever you give credit to, Riyad Mahrez, he turned it on in the second half, looked like the Riyad Mahrez from Leicester City.
He really did.
Yeah. Do you think this is more of a permanent form for him and he's back to his best, or do you think this was just someone pissed him off in the locker room and he decided to play the same way he did?
I don't think anyone pissed him off in the locker room, but I think, you know, everything kind of aligned for him. You know, you have those games where just whatever you do, you have that perfect touch, the, you know, perfect shot. Everything comes off for you.
Yeah.
And I think that was his game. I mean, he's still a great player, don't get me wrong, and he's scoring goals. But this was that game where everything just fell into place for him.
Yeah, it certainly did. Other bright spot in this game, Rico Lewis. Another good performance from him. He's keeping João Cancelo and Kyle Walker out of the team right now. Yeah,
he is playing real well. Young kid. That's fun to see. You know, you always like to see young players coming up.
Yeah. And then probably the biggest talking point, which I have to ask you, is Hugo Lloris done at Spurs?
I think so. I think this might be his last year there before they go and maybe splash some cash on another goalie or give someone else a chance.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of have to. I mean, that's 6 mistakes leading to goals this year. Most
it's sad to see too, man. He's been such a rock for him in the back for so many years.
But that's, again, it's for so many years. I mean, how long has he been there? 15 years?
Forever.
It seems like. But, I mean, he's not getting any help in front of him either. I mean, that's 21 goals conceded in 10 games for Spurs. Like that. That's more than the defense of Newcastle City and Arsenal. But that's only in the last 10 games. It's nuts.
Yeah, that Spurs team could be in trouble here. You know, the first half we were all probably praising them. Like, look at them go. Taking advantage. Yeah. You know, they didn't have a whole lot of opportunities, but the ones they had, they took advantage of. You know, and then in that first half, City had a lot of the possession, but they weren't creating anything. You know, nothing too dangerous for Lloris. Rico Lewis had a good shot that Hugo saved. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, there wasn't a whole lot created by Man City, and I'm guessing they must have got their asses chewed out by Pep at halftime.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think, you know, I mean, he had some choice words after the game, too, even after winning 4-2. But, yeah, it's whew. I can't imagine what that locker room was like. Pep is an intense person, so.
Yep.
But I do think, though, City might be more dynamic going forward with both Alvarez and Haaland starting.
That was an interesting play by, Pep, starting both of them. And I got to agree with you. Alvarez, he's a firecracker, man. He's a ball of energy on that field. He likes to run, that's for sure. You know, versus Haaland, Haaland can run, but like you say, he's more of a vertical player. Alvarez will come out to a wing and try to create. And he can finish too.
Yeah, it was a great finish. And I mean, it was a bold move by Pep, not only starting them, but benching De Bruyne, Walker, Bernardo Silva, and Phil Foden out of the starting lineup.
Yeah, I'm wondering if there's something else there going with Kevin De Bruyne. Maybe if he just wanted to give him a rest or something like that. They've been playing quite a few games here, but I just don't see how you leave Kevin De Bruyne on the bench. But he stayed there too. I would have thought maybe at halftime we would have seen him, but we didn't. So yeah,
no, but ultimately they didn't need him. So
no, but Pep was getting something across those players loud and clear. That's for sure.
Yeah, that is for sure. All right, on the 21st we had the battle of mid-table sides, and it kind of hurts me to say that. Liverpool versus Chelsea, both teams struggling this season. Nobody really looking like they would do anything in this game, and guess what? They didn't. This one ended a 0-0 draw. I mean, the only real bright spot of this whole game was Mykhailo Mudryk made his debut, and I mean, he was an instant favorite for those Chelsea fans, just running all over the field and tearing up that Liverpool defense.
Yeah, I came on off the bench, so it was good to see him. We'll see how he does, how he adapts to life in the Premier League. We got our first glimpses of him. He definitely had some good footwork there in the box, but I also saw a couple not very good first touches from him, so could be shaking off the cobwebs. Hasn't played in a while, but I'm sure Chelsea fans will be excited to see him on the field here at his full potential. Yeah,
I mean, a lot of Chelsea fans saying he's the first thing they've been excited about since Eden Hazard, so we'll see how that goes. He's definitely a raw talent and lightning in a bottle, but again, he's not a finished product, so it could take longer than they want it to, or he could just hit the ground running. But yeah, I mean, both teams needed a win. Both couldn't afford a loss. This one was really boring, I'll be honest with you. They both sit on 29 points now, 4 behind 5th and 10 off 4th.
Yeah, those teams, man, obviously they'd love to get into a Champions League spot. I don't see how they do it at this point. I think they're hoping for a Europa League spot. And, watching that game, it was at Anfield, but I thought, honestly, Chelsea were probably the better of the team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think they'll kind of progress forward up that table versus Liverpool, man. I don't know what's going on at Liverpool. Something's going on with Klopp and some of those players. He didn't start Henderson or Fabinho. He started a young kid. Not going to butcher his name. He started Naby Keita. So,
yeah,
he's not very happy with the way some of his big-time players are performing.
No. And there's definitely something going on there. I don't know if it's age finally creeping in, if it's years of overperforming, perhaps. I don't know. But, you had the correct prediction of a draw in this game. But you said it. I think this might end their top 4 hopes. I know mathematically they still could, but neither one are showing me anything to say that they're going to make a run. I mean, 5th maybe, because Tottenham is so bad. But then you look at teams like Brighton and Fulham and Brentford that are all right there too. I don't see how either one of these even get 5th.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for them. That's for sure. I think Chelsea might be have the better chance.
Yeah.
Getting there.
They've signed 12 players?
Well, that, and then they got probably another 12 injured that could come back here in the next 4 to 6 weeks. So,
yeah.
And so I think that might help them. But like Liverpool, they don't have, you got Virgil van Dijk out. Darwin Nunez was still battling injury, came on off the bench.
Luis Diaz is out.
Luis Diaz, yep. So, but that's only a couple players, not like Chelsea.
Yeah. Doesn't help that Cody Gakpo hasn't looked very good since coming in either. But
I think he's playing him out of position too. He was playing him up top versus on a left wing. Or, we kind of saw him play at the World Cup.
Yeah. Well, time will tell with Liverpool, but it's not looking promising.
No, it's not.
So, next game on the 21st, we had Bournemouth and Nottingham Forest. This one ended in a draw. We both got this one wrong, ultimately, with each of us going one way or the other. I feel like Forest should probably feel hard done by this.
Yeah, I mean, Bournemouth were leading 1-0, but I think Forest were definitely the better team. It took them a while to get their equalizer, but yeah, I mean, come away with a point. Probably do feel a little hard done. They definitely had more of the chances, dictated flow of the game. Forest did.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a good finish on Bournemouth. I think it was Anthony was the striker who
Jade
scored.
Anthony.
That was a nice goal.
Yeah, great first
Cross
touch,
into
great
him,
finish.
Popped it up, and then finish.
Yeah. I mean, Forest were in control the whole second half.
Yeah, they were.
Just kind of what it's been for them all season is they struggle scoring goals. And they let in a goal, and then they can't overtake the deficit. So
yeah, and that was Bournemouth's first goal at home in a long time.
Yeah, and a huge point for Bournemouth as well, especially with the how they've been essentially free falling down the table.
Yeah, I mean they're sitting in the relegation zone now.
Yeah,
on the goal differential, Wolves sitting above them,
sitting 18th. Forest with another point. I mean, it brings them 3 points ahead of Leicester City in 14th. So I mean,
yeah,
that's
starting to
pretty
make a little
big
bit of a gap there for them. Mm-hmm. That's great news for Forest.
Yeah. Speaking of
great
Leicester
news for
City,
my relegation prediction.
Yeah,
I predicted them going down.
Good. Speaking of Leicester City, they played Brighton. We both thought Brighton were going to run away with this one because of the form of both teams, but it ended in a 2-2 draw. Ended up being quite an entertaining 2-2 battle. I mean, this is the Leicester City we thought we would see all season.
Yeah, I mean, Matoma, man, had a heck of a goal there to get it going.
Yeah.
Beautiful curler.
Yeah, cutting it onto his right.
Yep.
Upper V.
And then Mark Albrighton gets subbed on for an injured, what's his name? Bryant, something like that. And Albrighton comes on and scores.
Yeah.
I do feel like Brighton were the better team in that game. I definitely think they had opportunities to win it. But credit Leicester, man. They, like we said, their form has been terrible here recently. So to get a point against Brighton, albeit it was at Leicester's home stadium.
Yeah.
Still a good result for them, I'd say.
Yeah. I mean, another bright spot, besides Mitoma for Brighton was Evan Ferguson gets yet another goal, making it 3 and 4 for him. He's turning into their super sub. Yeah,
he is, and it was a heck of a header too. Lansing kind of got it going. It was a beauty.
Yeah. That puts Brighton 2 points behind Spurs in 6th with a game in hand. They could overtake Spurs. Spurs are not looking great. Brighton are looking really good.
Yeah.
This could be the year for Brighton.
It could be. Let's see. Let's look at the table. So, yeah, they're at 31 points. He said, 2 points behind Tottenham with a game in hand.
And a better goal differential as well.
So I wouldn't be surprised, if things keep going the way they are, if Brighton bump Tottenham down one.
Yeah. I mean, this battle for 5th spot is going to be very, very interesting.
Yeah, it is.
I mean,
even Fulham are there too.
Fulham, I mean,
Brentford,
even Aston Villa, they're only 4 points back of 5th. So,
but good news for Leicester City fans. Jay Madison did come into that game off the bench, so that's good news for them. He's definitely one of their star players.
Yes. Yeah, he makes them a completely different team as well. So
much better team, that's for sure.
All right. Next up, we have a very controversial Southampton versus Aston Villa. This one ended 1-0 to Aston Villa. However, it could have been a much different game. We both predicted a draw in this one.
And it was a close one.
Been, quite honestly.
Yeah, this was a close one.
Southampton thought they had taken the lead. James Ward-Prowse scoring a goal, but it got called back for a foul via VAR. Again, I think this is VAR failing soccer, not making it better. What did you think?
So, yeah, I'm sure you've seen it. The foul was kind of a little nudge in the back. Is it a foul? Probably. Is it soft? Absolutely. So I can see why it was turned back. But, I mean, if the referee on the field doesn't call it, I don't feel like it's a clear and obvious mistake for it to then be overturned. So I probably would have counted the goal. And yeah, and then, if that goal stay on, Southampton go up 1-0 in that game.
Yeah, and it probably would have been a completely different game. But in the end, Oli Watkins scored the eventual winner off free kick.
Yep.
And on the other end, Emi Martinez coming up big yet again.
He did have some good saves in that game to keep him in it, that's for sure.
Yeah, that result puts Villa 1 point behind Chelsea and Liverpool. Man, Unai Emery, they have the same amount of points as Manchester United and Arsenal since he took over. How good of a job do you think he's done?
I think he's done a great job. He's definitely turned that team around since Steven Gerrard left.
Yeah, I mean, they were sitting in relegation spots or close to it, and now they're all the way up in
mid-table. Yeah,
11th with a pot. Oh, no, still negative 4 goal differential, but yeah, I mean, they're going up the table. They're flying high right now. They're a dangerous team and could cause a problem for a lot of the big boys. So,
what do you think on that? Was it a foul or should the goal?
I think it was. The problem is I don't think it was enough to disallow a goal. It was very soft.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if the referee makes the call on the field, then okay, fine. Foul.
Yeah.
But for VAR to say, hey, it's a clear and obvious mistake, I don't think it was.
Yeah.
Like, it is one of those, like, yeah, that could go either way as a foul or not a foul, I think.
Yeah, if this happened to Arsenal and say, someone fouled an Arsenal player in the box, I probably would be upset that it wasn't called on the field. However, seeing it on replay, I probably would have been like, well, that probably should stand as a goal. So that's how I see it. I think Southampton should feel hard done by it. All right, next up, we have the big game against the two fallen teams, West Ham United against Everton. Targo, you picked Everton. I picked West Ham. I know you were picking Everton just to be different. However, West Ham ended up winning this one 2-0, and it never was really close.
Man, Everton looked bad.
Yeah.
They looked bad. They couldn't get anything going forward, man. Like, as soon as they get into that final third near the opposing goal, it's just like everything broke down for them. They had no one to cross it to. Dominic Calvert-Lewin was, non-existent in that game.
Wait, he was on the field? No.
Yeah,
it seemed like it. Shoot.
Damari Gray might be a little bit of a bright spot. He tries to create at least, but yeah, they just look bad.
Yeah. Earlier, a couple weeks ago, I was probably saying poor Frank Lampard. But at this point, I don't know. I think that whole club is just bad right now.
The whole club, yeah. It's
club.
Top to bottom.
And the fans. Even the fans are being
Fans are not
right
happy.
Now. Yeah. Board members can't even go to the games in fear that they're going to be mugged.
It's mugged. I think they just want to
half
beat
of
the
the
crap
fans
out of
want
him.
Lampard out. Half the fans support him. No direction, and they're tied for last place.
Yeah, they're sitting in 19th place with 15 points.
And easily looking the worst of the two. So
honestly, yeah. We saw Everton and Southampton play last week, and I thought Everton looked a little bit better, at least in the first half of that game. But this week, I would say Southampton played better against Aston Villa than Everton did against West Ham.
100%. West Ham, that win takes them out of the drop zone. They're all the way up to 15th.
16th.
16th. My apologies. They're tied with Leeds on points.
And Leicester.
But have 1 goal more allowed as far as goal differential. So, yeah. I mean, West Ham just struggled to score goals. Their only bright spot this season, besides Declan Rice, has been Jared Bowen, and he got both the goals.
Yeah, the second one, you can see he just wanted the ball more than the defender as the cross was played from Mikel Antonio.
So, yeah, if he stays healthy, I think West Ham have a chance of staying up. I think if Jared Bowen gets hurt, I don't know if they have goals coming from anywhere else to be able to stay up.
Not right now, with Skamaka still out injured.
And Miguel Antonio's not scoring.
Nope.
They have a lot of talent in that squad, but they're not convincing and not in form right now.
No, but hopefully this win, West Ham can get a good run of form going now, string a couple wins together, and hopefully move up the table, because that's definitely a team you don't expect to see down there.
No, and quite honestly, I don't want to see them down there. They have one of the most fun fan bases in all of England, in my opinion. So, next up, we had what we thought was going to be a low-scoring win, or at least I thought was going to be a low-scoring win for Newcastle. But Crystal Palace put up quite the fight. Ended 0-0.
I told you Palace were going to get points off Newcastle in this game.
You did call it. Palace arguably looked better than Newcastle.
I would disagree. I would say Newcastle, I think, had the better of the chances. I mean, yeah, Nick Pope, I think, made 1 or 2 good saves. But it seemed like Newcastle had more corners. The ball was on that end of the field a little bit more often.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Regardless, both teams couldn't finish their chances. Bruno Guimaraes came back. I thought he was going to be out for a while, so good for him for coming back so quickly.
Yeah, after walking off the field the week prior.
And then tragedy strikes for Crystal Palace, and Wilfred Zaha looks like he has done something to his hamstring. Came off limping after a non-contact injury. Those are never fun to see.
No, he'll probably be out for, if he did his hamstring, in a good 3 weeks, I would say.
Yeah, 3-4 weeks. How big of a blow is that for Crystal Palace?
Huge blow. He's their best player.
Yeah. I mean, it might give Olise some extra playing time. Maybe he won't come off the bench and he'll start. But
yeah, I was surprised he didn't start, that they went with Richie Eze in that game. I almost wondered it's because they played midweek just a few days ago. So maybe, I don't know, Patrick Vieira is trying to rest him a little.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, I don't know.
So that result doesn't do any favors for Newcastle. They stay tied on points with United, but in third on goal difference, and is a hefty goal difference, let me tell you. 22 goals. Or 22 goal difference. Yeah, that puts Palace, I mean, they were in 12th to begin the game. They stay in 12th. That's right where they kind of want to be.
Yeah, they don't want to get dragged down into that relegation fight, though. So they definitely, they've had some tough games, obviously, playing Manchester United and playing Newcastle. So hopefully they can get a couple games here, won, and maybe get away from that relegation fight. They're not quite in it, but
as far as they can.
Yeah.
All right. On the 22nd, first up, we had Leeds United versus Brentford. I believe we both picked Brentford to win this game.
Yeah. I think you picked Leeds.
Did I?
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to go back and listen.
Doesn't sound like something I would do, but I've done crazier things. So, Leeds.
Either way, it ends in a draw.
Yeah, 0-0. Leeds look more dangerous, especially in the second half.
Yeah, it was
on
all
the
Leeds.
back foot all game. They couldn't really get any counters going, and Ivan Toney just looked angry.
Did you see their jerseys? They have the black jersey that's like
yellow and pink confetti
looking like crap stuff on them.
Yeah. Not quite as ugly as Fulham's away jerseys, but they're not good looking. Let me tell you.
It was just weird. Like, I like the black, but then you had pink and yellow confetti looking like stuff.
Yeah. Confetti, polka dots, whatever you want to say. I don't know.
They weren't circles, though. They were, So it was weird. Weird jerseys.
Weird. Paint splatter. I don't know.
That's what I almost thought it was. Like, they have like paint splattered, but a little different.
Yeah. Doesn't look like splatter. It's more of a pattern, which is weird. I think Brentford looked about as bad in this game as their jerseys did. Leeds looking better and better every game. It's promising for Jesse Marsh.
It is. He needs to start turning some of these draws into wins, though. Get him out of that relegation fight, because they're in the thick of it right now, man. Yeah. They're in 15th place on 18 points. So they're only a point off 18th. Yeah. They don't want to be there.
No, not at all. But as far as form goes, it's more promising
they look like
for
a good
them.
Team, yeah.
They're going in the right direction. Brentford, on the other hand, that result doesn't do them any favors, as they were looking to jump up into 6th. They now have a league high 9 draws this season. Crazy.
I mean, they're obviously still outperforming what I think most people thought they would do. So
yeah,
at this point, everything's gravy for them.
Yeah. So hopefully they can continue that good form, and hopefully Leeds, this kickstarts something to where they can jump up the table a little bit. But I don't think their schedule gets any easier from here on out. So speaking of teams whose schedule doesn't get easier any easier going forward, Manchester City played Wolverhampton Wanderers. This one wasn't close. Ended 3-0. De Bruyne assisting Haaland for the first one. Haaland with a hat trick, making it 4 hat tricks in his young Premier League career, which has now passed Cristiano Ronaldo and Luis Suarez for more hat tricks in his entire EPL career.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. In 19 games. It's unreal.
Erling Haaland. Yeah.
Yeah. The one note I wanted to make about this game is City came out playing an interesting formation. They played a 3-2-4-1 with 2 attacking midfielders. I don't know if that's just because they wanted to just dominate Wolves more than they already would have, but it seemed to work. It's a very interesting tactic from Pep. Manchester City at the time was 2 points back of Arsenal after this game, with Arsenal having 2 games in hand. Erling Haaland, I mean, how much has he impressed you? He only needs 10 goals in 18 games to break the all-time record.
Yeah, he's got more goals right now than the Golden Boot winners the past few years, seems like.
Yeah, he's already passed Heung-min Son and Mo Salah from last season at 22. Haaland now has 25. So,
I mean,
the robot.
Now we're going to be expecting this from him. He went a couple games without scoring, and now in 2 games he's got 4 goals. So
it all adds up.
Made up for it, right?
Yeah. Over under 45 for him.
In the Prem or overall?
In the Prem.
Under.
I'll go over just because of 18 games left. So, all right. And then on to the biggest game of the weekend. Again, shout out to those of you who joined us for our live stream for this one. We had the big match, first versus third at the time. Manchester United versus Arsenal.
What a
Man
game.
United, by the time this game started, we're still 4th. What a game it was. United surprisingly started Weghorst and Scott McTominay But man, this was back and forth. This was like the old United Arsenal rivalry games that I'm used to seeing. I know you have too.
Yeah, this was a fun game, man. It was just fun. You're right. A little surprised McTominay, but I understand why he did play because Casemiro was suspended for this game. Big Horse, I mean, I don't know who else they're going to put up there. Martial, I'm pretty sure, is still injured.
Yeah.
Could, I guess, put Rashford there, but he's been tearing it up on the left flank.
Yeah.
And he tore it up on the left flank again for this game.
Yeah. Yeah.
He scores the first goal. Yeah.
You want to talk about that strike?
I mean, the first goal, Marcus Rashford scores, but the way he went around Party, man, that was beautiful. And then a rocket down there to the lower left-hand corner. Ramsdale diving to the right, couldn't get there.
Yeah.
United go up 1-0.
Yeah. And, honestly, at that point, United almost looked like the better team. But I feel like that goal kind of came out of nothing. It's just a piece of individual brilliance by Rashford.
Individual brilliance by Rashford and, kind of a poor pass by Partey.
Yeah.
Tried to thread it through. Rashford blocks it. It falls, I think it was to Bruno. And Bruno gives it back to Rashford, who goes around Partey like he's not there. And no one closes him down, so he takes a shot.
Yeah. And then not even 6 minutes later, Eddie Nketiah puts Arsenal back level after a cross from Granit Xhaka. That I felt like was with the run of play.
Yeah, I mean, after that goal, you could definitely tell Arsenal wanted to get back into it. But I will say, I did expect Arsenal to have more possession in this game and United to play more on a break, but it wasn't really like that. It's like United wanted to go toe-to-toe with them. They did a really good job in the first half.
I mean, all the way up until the end, I would say they did.
Yeah, they had their times in the second half, for sure, but definitely towards the end of that second half, Arsenal started to impose themselves.
Yeah. Speaking of imposing themselves, second half starts. Arsenal's a little more into the game. And then out of nothing, Bukayo Saka puts Arsenal ahead with a 25-yard worldie.
Curler, man. What a curler.
Woo!
Now I don't know which one was better.
I don't either.
Rashford's or Saka's.
Impressive. But, yeah, I mean, when Saka shot that, I didn't think there was any way that was going to sneak into the far post. But,
no.
Right in. It was fantastic. However, that lead only lasted 6 minutes when Lisandro Martinez gets his first goal in the Premier League for Manchester United with a brilliant flick over the top of Gabriel in the goal after a parry from Aaron Ramsdale.
What a flick, man.
Yeah.
What a flick. That was such a weird header, just his little bloop.
Yeah, and he only had a split second to react to it, and yet he still managed to do that. I thought it was fantastic, especially with how swollen his eye was. Bruise all the way across his entire United in fourth, 11 points back. There he is. United are 6 points off City. How impressed were you with United in this game?
I was actually really impressed. I thought they played much better than I thought they would. Hold on, dude. My whole thing's... I can't do my noise. My echo cancellation.
Okay.
Is it still recording on your end?
Yeah. So I guess with United being that impressive, Arsenal being just that much more, is this Arsenal's title to lose at this point?
Oh, for sure. This is definitely Arsenal's title to lose.
Yeah. I mean, they're 5 points up, game in hand. Everybody keeps saying, they haven't beat a big team yet. Well, now the only big team they haven't beat is City.
I mean, they've only lost one game.
Yeah.
One game, 2 draw, or 1 loss, 2 draws, and the rest are wins, man. This is theirs to lose. I mean, even history is on their side to win this. A team's never had this many points and then not won at this stage.
Yeah. So, which begs the question, from where they were at the beginning of the season, where we thought they were going to be, would this season, winning the Premier League, be more impressive than the Invincibles?
No. Just because it's so hard to play a season without losing a game.
I understand
that Invincible team, don't get me wrong, they didn't have the best points that we've seen in years past, but they didn't lose a game. Like, how did they not lose a game? I remember the year after, Jose Mourinho with that Chelsea team, they were unstoppable, and they lost one game that season. And so it's hard. It's hard not to lose one. And so, I mean, it's just, that is very impressive. But again, take nothing away from this Arsenal team, the way they're performing. They're playing fantastic. They're fun to watch. Arteta has got them humming, man.
Yeah. I mean, at this point of the season, they're 5 points better off than the Invincibles were. However, the Invincibles didn't have a Manchester City squad to deal with. I understand they had Fergie's Manchester United, but...
So, yeah, I guess that could be the argument, is maybe the teams, a lot better teams now than there were back then. Even with Newcastle, you still obviously had your Chelsea's, Liverpool's, Man United's, but yeah, Man City. And that was that team that beat Jose Mourinho that one game.
Yep.
Manchester City. A PK from Nicolas Anelka.
There you go. But at this point, you guys let us know. Is this run more impressive than the Invincibles? It's possible. There is an argument to be had, but nothing is final yet. There's still a long way to go.
That's what I was going to say. Maybe ask me at the end of the season and see where they're at. Season's not over yet, so anything can happen. Who knows? This Arsenal team could crumble and come back down to earth here real quick and in a bad way.
Yeah. I mean, we keep waiting for it, but it hasn't happened, and I'll be honest, it doesn't look like it's going to happen, barring a catastrophe of injuries.
Okay.
All right. Other good news elsewhere in Europe, Bundesliga's back.
Woohoo.
Woo! After the World Cup, this would be the first round of games, and on the 20th, man, did we have a big one. RB Leipzig, who's in third, played Bayern Munich, who are in first. This one ended in a draw, 1-1. Do you think that was an even result?
I kind of do.
Yeah.
I think in the first half, Bayern definitely played better. But I feel like Leipzig came back into it, especially in that second half.
Yeah. Again, Leipzig, very fun to watch. They're fast, man, going forward.
And Jan Sommer getting his first appearance for Bayern Munich.
Yeah. What a
Swiss
what
goalkeeper.
A great pickup from them for them. Yeah. But yeah, Choupo-Moting scored in the 37th. Beautiful counterattack from Bayern, and Marcel Halstenberg scored for Leipzig in the 52nd, which I feel like was a fair result for both teams.
Yeah.
All right. Then on to the 21st, we had Wolfsburg, who were in 7th against Freiburg, who are in second. Wolfsburg ran riot, winning 6-0. Man, did I not see that coming.
Yeah, and that goal differential knocked Freiburg down to 4th.
Yeah. But it just shows you how tight it is at the top there. Puts Bayern Munich up 5 points on second. Speaking of second, Eintracht Frankfurt beat Schalke 3-0. Schalke is on the bottom of the table on 9 points, but that sends Frankfurt second on 30 points.
Yeah, they're sitting in second off goal differential. But yeah, it's a good result for them. You kind of expect them to win. Schalke not playing well.
No. Which is sad to see because they're a pretty big club as well.
Yeah.
All right, on to the 22nd, we had Borussia Mönchengladbach against Bayern Leverkusen. Man, this was a good game as well. Ended 3-2 in Leverkusen's favor.
Yeah, great result for Leverkusen.
Next up, which could arguably be the best game in Germany of the weekend. We had Dortmund, who was in 6th, against Augsburg, who are in 14th. This one ended 4-3 and was back and forth the entire time. Dortmund scored, Augsburg responded, and then Dortmund found a winner at the end.
Yeah, that was a great game, man. It ended 2-2 at halftime, so there's 4 goals in that first half. And yeah, there was some beautiful goals too. Jude Bellingham's first goal, that was a rocket, and then the winner from Gio Reyna was a beauty. Good for him to get back on the score sheet since his issues he's had with his parents at the U.S. men's national team.
Do your own thing, kid. I'm very happy for him, and what an important goal for Dortmund.
That was an important goal that helped.
That would have put them. That would have put them 9 points behind Munich. But with the win, they are 7.
But yeah, that puts them closer to that, kind of second place. They're only 2 points off second place now.
Yeah, which is good for them. One would expect them to be near the top of the table.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah.
All right, flying over to Italy. Well, I guess Saudi Arabia. We had the Italian Supercoppa, which is a Milan derby. Inter against AC Milan. Inter beat them 3-0 to win the first trophy for them of the season. This game is traditionally the Coppa Italia winners against the Serie A winners. I mean, it was not really close from the get-go.
No. Milan definitely looked very bad defensively in this game. They made a lot of mistakes, and Inter Milan capitalized. Yeah. And Dzeko turning back the clock, too.
Yeah, he looks like a man reborn this season.
Yeah, I mean, he turned Sandro Tonali inside out for his goal, cut it back across, scored it with his right foot. And then Lautaro Martinez, man, gets the third. So he's scored in back-to-back Supercopas now.
Yeah, the Milan defense looked really suspect. A lot of mistakes. But that's what you get when you have that many mistakes against good opposition.
Yeah,
Inter
especially
running out 3-0.
He didn't look very good.
Yeah, just before some breaking news getting reported on the 20th, Juventus docked 15 points, taking them from second. Were they? Yeah.
They were, yeah.
All the way down to 10th place after essentially a court case saying that they fluffed their books by the way they accounted for player transfers and player swaps.
And wages, too. I think they had claimed like 3 months' wages where players took deductions during COVID, but that actually wasn't the case. And yeah.
Yeah, just all sorts of things. Again, like that, what happened in December, their whole board resigned. They now have a new board. There's a continued investigation going on about how they used their books and player exchanges, using them as inflated value to make their books look better. That was what I was looking for. So
that's a huge
going
blow,
into
man.
this weekend.
15 points.
Juve go from 3rd to 10th. So Saturday, the 21st, we had Salernitana.
I finally had to figure out how to say it.
Yeah.
Easiest way, go on to FIFA and play as them.
There you go. Who fired their coach after losing 8-2 last week, only to rehire him a day and a half later, playing Napoli, who's in first and cruising. Napoli won this one 2-0 to no surprise of anybody else. Victor Osimhen continues his scoring streak.
Yeah, Di Lorenzo scores the first goal right before halftime. And then, Osimhen gets a tap in the second half. Choa made some good saves. But yeah, this game was all Napoli.
Yeah. And then on to the 22nd, we had Juve, fresh off of a 15-point reduction against Atalanta, man, this game was good. Ended 3-3. Atalanta scored first. Juve scored 2. Atalanta scored 2, and then Juve scored another. Essentially, there were no defenses this weekend, apparently. I don't know what happened.
Doesn't sound like it.
Yeah. So, that good for Juventus. It's an important point after what happened to them this week. But they have to move on from here. Next up, we had Inter, who were in fourth against Empoli. Inter, that's on the 23rd. Inter beat Verona last time out 1-0. Empoli beat Sampdoria 1-0. And then on the 24th, we have Lazio against AC Milan. Lazio sitting in fifth. Milan's in second. Milan coming off a draw against Lecce, and Lazio being Sassuolo 2-0. And that is it for this week in Italy. So off to Spain, Targo. Let me hear it.
In Spain, we had Atletico Madrid take on Valladolid. Atletico won pretty comfortably 3-0. Memphis made his debut. That was on the 21st of January. 22nd, you had Barcelona win 1-0 against Getafe. Barcelona, that keeps them in first place. Getafe, well, they moved down to 16th place. And that one was a little bit of a snoozer.
Yeah, it was.
Maybe Barca having a little bit of fall back from their El Clasico win.
But, that's what makes you champion, is winning ugly in the games that you should win. So,
and speaking of El Clasico, we had Athletic Club take on Real Madrid. Real wins this one 2-0. A beauty volley from Benzema, and then Toni Kroos finishes it off at the end of the game with a beautiful finish as well. So Real Madrid keeping pace there with Barca. They're 3 points off in second. And Real Madrid have a big game next week playing Real Sociedad, who are in third.
Yeah, and a team that is known for giving them trouble as well. Especially
they're in great form, Sociedad. And if Sociedad gets a win there, they will be tied on points there with Real Madrid.
Yeah. So, very interesting games coming up next week. Spain, it looks like it's going to come down to the wire. It's looking tight at the top.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how Atletico do with Memphis. Hopefully it's not another Antoine Griezmann situation for Barca where he comes back to bite them.
I mean, for Memphis going to Atleti, he's the fourth player from Barcelona to do so, and every single one has come back to bite Barca in the ass. So we'll see how that goes. However, I think this is probably Barcelona more trying to balance the books than wanting to sell Memphis to Atleti. So
definitely. But
all right.
Take us on to our done deals here, Josh.
Speaking of Memphis to Atleti, let's get on to our done deals like you said. And we'll start with that one. Going from Atleti to Barca, 3 million euros. Permanent signing. Interesting clause in this one, though. Barcelona have an option to sign Yannick Carrasco in the summer for 15 to 20 mil. Yeah. Do you think that's a good deal for Atleti or a good deal for Barca?
I don't know. Memphis hasn't shown a whole lot recently, but 3 million, also not a lot. I don't know why Barca would want the option to sign Yannick Carrasco. 15, 20 mil. I guess that might be a little much for him. He hasn't performed super great recently. So I would say a good deal for Atleti. Maybe not the best deal for Barca.
I have to agree. I think Memphis Depay is definitely worth a lot more than 3 million. Even though he is getting older, he's still in his 20s. Believe it or not. So I think this one comes back to bite Barca in the butt. But time will tell. All right, next up, already mentioned, Jan Sommer from Bayern Munich, from Borussia Mönchengladbach. 8 million plus 1.5 million in add-ons. I think this is a great deal for, more Bayern Munich than Gladbach.
That is a great deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll admit that, yeah. I feel like Jan Sommer's a solid shot stopper.
Yeah. And he showed in the World Cup how good of a shot stopper he is for Switzerland.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, another international goalie going to Bayern as good cover for the injured Manuel Neuer. Again, Bayern Munich doing great deals with teams in Germany just to make themselves better and everybody else worse. Speaking of which,
Munich way.
Konrad Leimer, it was announced that he has signed from Bayern Munich. Contract starts in the summer on a free when his contract expires. Yet another promising young talent from Leipzig going to Munich. Has Leipzig officially taken over as the feeder team for Bayern Munich over Dortmund?
The Bayern Munich B team. Yeah, they played him here this weekend, and I was thinking like Upamecano playing against his old teammates there.
Yeah. So I think they have. They seem to be turning out more talent than Dortmund has in Leipzig. And Bayern just, as they always do, swoop up all the best talent.
Ties them all up.
All the best talent in the Bundesliga. All right, next up, we're going to go over to England. Nottingham Forest signed Chris Wood on loan from Newcastle. Is this a good deal for them?
I thought this one was pretty interesting because I've been seeing Chris Wood getting playing time. So I'm not sure why he would want to go, I guess, for more playing time. You know, I think it's a good deal for Forest. Gives them cover. I think he'll be more willing to fight for his spot at Forest versus at Newcastle.
Yeah.
But then Newcastle, I mean, like I said, they were playing him. So if something happens to one of their starting forwards, they could be hurting.
Yeah, I mean, Newcastle does have Isak coming back. However, yeah, like you said, he's been hurt all season. So what's going to say he's not going to get hurt again anytime soon? I think this is a better deal for Forest than it is for Newcastle. Newcastle is struggling with depth up top if somebody does get hurt. Nottingham Forest get what they want. They need a goal scorer. He could provide it for them. How does that make it, like 26 signings now for Forest? Something
lot.
crazy. But yeah, a lot. So we'll see how he fits in. Next up, we're going to go over to London. West Ham signed Danny Ings from Aston Villa for $15 million. Good signing for West Ham.
Yeah, they need someone to score some goals. Kamaka's been hurt quite a bit. Michael Antonio's a little bit out of form, hasn't been scoring. I mean, they've been kind of relying on Jared Bowen. So yeah, I do think it's a good signing.
I agree. Danny Ings is very familiar with the relegation fight. He will provide goals that will be instrumental to potentially keeping them up for next season. And potentially could save David Moyes' job.
Yeah. Danny Ings, man, he's played for almost half the teams in England, it seems like.
Right. He's definitely going around. Hopefully this time he'll find somewhere where he can start regularly and stick. All right, and then into a shock transfer that essentially came out of nowhere, except for one of us said that it could happen. Leandro Trossard from Brighton to Arsenal. Flick of a switch, boom, done. Fabrizio Romano calling this one. 21 mil plus 5 mil and add-ons. Is this a good signing for the Gunners?
I don't know. I have my doubts. I do. Don't get me wrong, Leandro Trossard was playing great for Brighton. We had talked about his attitude, the way he left. I didn't like. You know, you hope Mikel Arteta kind of did his homework there and won't take any of that nonsense. So you don't want nothing messing with that dressing room. But at the same time, Arsenal needed some depth. You know, they had just lost out on Mihajlo Mudryk to Chelsea, lost out on João Felix to Chelsea. So they definitely needed to sign someone. And hopefully Trossard can be the one to kind of give some competition there to Martinelli and Bukayo Saka. But I definitely see him more as a bench player. But hopefully he can make a difference coming off the bench. He scored some big goals against big teams. So
yeah, definitely. I think this is a good deal for Arsenal. Originally, I had thought that they paid way too much for someone who had 6 months left on their contract, but I
He had
found
an
out
option-
Brighton
year
had an
option.
option for another year, so it makes sense. I think he brings versatility to the bench. I mean, you need a stronger bench than they have to last the whole season. I mean, they're still fighting on 3 fronts for trophies. They potentially could win the Europa League, FA Cup, and Premier League this year still. They need the depth. Someone gets injured, he's a good person off the bench. We saw in the United game he made his debut. Looked like he could potentially be a good signing for them. I know it's going to take time. But Arsenal's assistant coach also coached Trossard at Genk. So I think that's probably, at the end of the day, why Arteta trusted Trossard and his attitude over anything.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned his versatility will be key. He can play along that front 3 anywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he does have more than 1 goal in him. So, all right, next up, again, seemingly out of nowhere, and then literally out of nowhere, we got Jacob Kivior, 22 years old, from Spezia to Arsenal, 20 mil. This guy is a left-footed center back. Played all of Poland's games starting at center back in the World Cup. I don't know a lot about him, but Robert Lewandowski said he's going to be one of the great center backs with a huge potential in the future.
Well, that's good to hear. Hopefully Robert Lewandowski is a good scout then.
Right. Especially if he's scoring all the goals against him in training. So
yeah.
All right. Next up, we go across London. Chelsea make yet another signing. This time, Noni Madueke, 20 years old, from PSV. He's originally from Tottenham and Crystal Palace's academies. Plays attacking mid and winger. I watched some of this guy's film on YouTube, my extensive scouting. He says in interviews that he possesses great dribbling abilities. The stats don't lie. He beats his man an average of 4.8 times a game.
Is he? And he's a winger or a midfielder?
He can play as an attacking mid or a winger. Yes.
Well, Chelsea has lots of competition for him then, so we'll see how good he is.
Yes. I believe they have 10 wingers/center attacking mids now and no strikers. So, yeah. So that's all the done deals for this week. Speaking of done deals and disappointments, next up, Targo, we're going to go into our biggest disappointments in the Premier League this season as far as players go. This one was tough. There's a lot of good things happening in the Premier League this year and a lot of disappointing things happening. What do you got for me?
So I'll start with my least disappointment. I would say it'd be Mohamed Salah.
Your least disappointing disappointment?
Yeah, my least disappointing disappointment. Like, obviously, you still expect a lot out of Mohamed Salah, and his numbers are not great, but they're not terrible either. You know, if it was someone else, not Mohamed Salah, you'd probably say, "Oh, that's not too bad. He's having a good season." Like, for example, Salah's and Leandro Trossard's numbers are very similar.
Yeah,
and you know, people would say Leandro Trossard's having a good season, and maybe Mohamed Salah isn't. For me, it's his play during the game. It's not necessarily his stats. Like, you know, you're used to seeing Mohamed Salah take on players and beating them and creating something, has quick feet in the box. And you're just not seeing it, man.
No. He's been very disappointing on the field this season, and his dribbling looks like it's gotten worse.
Yeah, and so he's not old. I think he's, 30? So he's not old. He's not super young either, though. I know when I hit 30, things start to hurt a little bit more, but...
Everything. The answer is everything.
So, yeah, he's been a little bit of a disappointment here. I mean, that whole Liverpool team has, to be honest.
Yeah.
My number 4, I guess, disappointment, or after Mohamed Salah, would be, I think, Darwin Nunez. I kind of expected him to come flying into the Premier League. he's an exciting player, and he's getting chances, but man, that guy misses too many big chances.
Yeah, he has really been a little bit wide of the mark, we'll say.
So yeah, he's got to be up there. It's just, again, the chances he's missed. Disappointed. I think you could have finished some of the ones he's missing.
100%. Yeah.
Then after him, I would say Calvin Phillips. You remember him?
Oh, yeah. The guy who
used
came
to play
back
for Leeds United
after the World Cup. In a dry World Cup.
So yeah, he's at Manchester City now. They paid £49 million for him over the summer, and he's got 2 appearances. And after the World Cup, Pep actually came out and said that he wasn't injured when he got back to City, but that he was overweight. And from a player who at the Euros was starting for England and was the key figure for Leeds, I mean, didn't hardly see him at this World Cup. Did he even
must have hung out with Eden Hazard too much at the World Cup?
Eating those cheeseburgers, huh? But yeah, he's been a disappointment. I know he's been injured, but to come back from the World Cup overweight, that's a little bit unacceptable there.
All right. Who is your most disappointing player, Targo?
So he doesn't play in the Premier League anymore. It's Cristiano Ronaldo, though, the beginning of the season. What a disappointment, man. I mean, last year he had 20 goals for United, was their top goal scorer. Beginning of this season, he's not getting a look in. And then his poor attitude just, killed it for me. Refusing to go on as a sub, leaving a match early, just shows he has a fragile ego. And that, he thought he was important. And Ten Hag said, no, the club is more important. And apparently Ronaldo didn't like that, so he had to leave. Yeah,
I was highly disappointed with Ronaldo as well. I mean, he should know at this point, and he even came out and said it, that at United, the club is bigger than he is. But when push came to shove, he sure didn't act like it.
No, I mean, how do you refuse to not come on as a sub?
Yeah, especially against Tottenham. I don't.
What's that say to your teammates?
Yeah. And then it was the storming off the field for me. Getting subbed off, throwing his jersey on the ground, and walking off the field.
Yeah.
Down the tunnel. And then he did it for Portugal at the World Cup, too. So, I mean...
Fragile ego, man.
Fragile ego for one of the greatest strikers of all time. So
those are my biggest disappointments. How about you?
All right. Well, I'll go with my least disappointment first.
It's a mouthful.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Mason Mount. He was flying high last season, looking like one of Chelsea's best midfielders. This season, he has the second most minutes on the entire Chelsea squad. He's only got 3 goals and 2 assists. And then the one for me is he's got 20 fouls committed, which is second on the team only to Kai Havertz.
Do you think it's his contract issues? Because I know his contract's done at the end of the season. Do you think that has something to do with it?
It very much could. But you would think you'd be playing for a contract rather than hoping that they would give you one so you play better. So, next up, I have someone who doesn't really play that often, but is just that bad on the field. You know him well. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang.
He's been so bad.
So bad. Even the Chelsea fans don't want to see him come on. He's been on the field 16 times. He's got 3 goals. 2 of them were in the same game. But the worst stats for me is in those 16 appearances, he only has 10 shots. And he's only made 8 passes in 16 games. That is terrible. Awful.
He just looks bad when he comes on the field. Like, he doesn't do anything, doesn't create nothing, doesn't give the defenders, any trouble, putting pressure on them. He just looks like he's on a walkabout.
Yep. Yeah, the opposite about the kick around with the boys than Ivan Toney. He went to the other side of the park. All right, next up, I have to agree with you. Darwin Núñez. 15 big chances missed in 16 games with only 5 goals. And a red card. Yeah. Don't forget the red card.
Missed, man. How does he miss
15
some of these?
Leads the Premier League.
Oh, so bad.
Second is Erling Haaland, by the way. Yeah, he's just been bad. I know he's got the potential there. He's just been bad. I know this is the end of his Liverpool career. He's just been disappointing. It's like, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
And who knows? You know, those chances he's missing, watch him start putting them in, and he finishes the season with 20 goals.
Yeah. I mean, it's not far off. He could be at 20 right now if he put them all away. So, next.
15 missed. I guess you're not wrong, huh?
Right? That's math, man. All right. Next to last for me, Hugo Lloris. He's only got 5 clean sheets in 20 games. But for me, it's the same thing as Darwin Núñez, not being able to put away goals. Hugo Lloris is not being able to keep the ball out. Again, 21 in 10 he's let in, but 6 errors leading to goals. I mean, we saw the one where Bukayo Saka hit the ball right at him, goes through his hands, off his chest, and into the goal. Made another one this week against Manchester City. He just seems to have at least one a game in him, but he had 11 coming into this season since 2016. He's got 6 this season. I think it probably is time for Tottenham to get a new goalie, but Hugo Lloris, coming off of such a good World Cup, has been awful this season. And last but not least, I didn't pick one player for this one. I picked the team's whole damn midfield. Liverpool's midfield this season has been atrocious. A team that has been first or second for the last, 4 or 5 years?
Something like that, yeah.
Fabinho, Henderson, Thiago, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Naby Keita, James Milner, and Harvey Elliott. Harvey Elliott literally has 2/3 of the stats of that entire midfield. That whole midfield has 2 goals and 3 assists. Harvey Elliott has 1 of each of those. That is how bad Liverpool's midfield has been.
I think you could see it today. Klopp starting someone we never even heard of. And then Keita starting, and no Henderson, no Fabinho. So,
and we know that Jurgen Klopp does not like to play Naby Keita. Like, he's a good player, but
they spent so much money on him too.
The bench. He's been on the bench notoriously almost every game unless it's a cup game. They're just so bad this season. It's the whole reason why they're where they're at. I mean, like you said, I know Mohamed Salah and Darwin Núñez, their stats aren't great, but they're putting themselves in chances. But the midfield is allowing teams to just run right through them like Swiss cheese. So it's hard to play when you're playing with your outside backs and your forwards, but nothing in the middle. And that's all I have to say about that.
All right. Well, that brings us to this episode. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Make sure to check out our socials, Instagram, TikTok, at Brews and Banter FC. Hop on our Facebook page. Join the conversation. Tell us what you want to hear, what you liked, what you don't like. Make sure to join our socials. We're going to start doing some live streams here. And so you definitely want to get in on that. They're fun. You can hear us.
It's a lot of fun.
Chip and Park at the refereeing decisions, at player mistakes, all of it. Join the conversation. We'll shout you out during the live streams. So, yeah, that's all I got. So, everyone have a good one.
Cheers. All right. Cheers.